Hey, everybody, welcome in to Day by Day. I'm James. I'm with Andrew out in Washington, the great state of Washington. How are you doing?
Cold. Well, not cold. Gosh, I'm not going to complain because I'm sure it's warmer than Nebraska, but
I was actually going to ask you about that. What's the weather like?
Every day is between right now 45 and 50 and clouds. Sometimes there's some sun, but
we're both dads and we don't talk about the weather enough on this podcast. Right now it feels like it's 20, but it's 18. That's a little weird. Most mornings this week, it's been like 9 degrees and it feels like 0 when I wake up and let the dog out. So it's been cold here.
Yeah.
It's the January blues.
It is. And there's not a ton of Husker football happenings. So we're gonna dive into some basketball and other stuff.
You can find us on characterchronicles.com, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the platforms. Please subscribe to the show and give us a like. It helps more people find us. Thanks for watching. Yeah, let's start with basketball because it's so depressing right now. I feel like the UCLA game was about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
That was a great day. It was just it was great. And then since then, UCLA has just been in shambles.
I can't tell if we break people, like down from their heights or if they're just not as good as we thought.
I mean, we broke ourselves against UCLA. True. We broke UCLA. But so the Purdue game, I didn't really watch the whole game because I was in church for most of it. I was trying to catch it toward the end. And then by the time I got home, I saw the score and I was like, yeah, it's not our day. I mean, Purdue hit 63% of their threes. Even if Nebraska was playing good defense that day, I don't think you were going to beat Purdue.
Yeah. I didn't turn it on. I mean, here being 2 hours earlier than game time, it was.
Damn.
I went to bed thinking the game was 11, and I woke up at 9:30 getting ready for church, and it was like, oh, it's already started. I'll just follow on Twitter. So
yeah,
just
a bad day at the office. I know the metrics say you shouldn't lose by 40 points. I actually don't know that it affected Nebraska all that much. I'm trying to look right now at where we're sitting. We are down to 45th in the net. We were as high as 36 last week or before the Purdue game. So I don't really know what they can do. I'm not a basketball genius. I'm not Fred Hoiberg. I put something out on Twitter and people took me a little too literally. I basically said, you got to look at your entire road operation. And people are like, oh, it doesn't matter what they eat. I'm like, I'm not literally talking about their pregame meal. I'm just talking about when you have this kind of consistent collapse on the road, you need to look at everything that you do and reevaluate it. And somebody made a comment. I think that might be something you do in the off season. That might be true, but like, you got to win now. And so if what you're doing on the road or in your process and your preparation, and sure, maybe it is the pregame meal, maybe it is, the time you go to bed. This is an early game. I don't know, but if I'm the coach, I am looking at every last detail, pulling my hair out of my head, just going, why do we perform like this time after time on the road? Now, Iowa was a little bit different. You still blew the game. You didn't get blown out, but I don't know if you get into that or you think about it. I'm not being superstitious. I'm just saying literally from a process standpoint, there has to be something that even if you just do something completely different next time, just to do it different.
Yeah.
You don't know until you try.
If it didn't matter, they wouldn't have a process. Like if it didn't matter, okay, show up at the game. They have to, they have a process. So it may not be it may just be something within the process, it leads to a mindset or it leads to, being a little more sharp on game day, being a little more focused. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to evaluate it and tweak something. So,
and what's funny to me is like in that same tweet, I said, this isn't a talent issue. They're talented. And then there's a couple of people like, what do you mean they're talented? You don't lose by 40 and be talented. They beat a better Purdue team at home by 16 points last year.
Yeah. Wire to wire win.
You can't tell me this isn't like they're not talented. So something happens on the road. They are talented. They did beat Creighton on the road.
They won that tournament.
They won the tournament. Again, they beat Wisconsin at home last year. They beat everybody at home last year except for Creighton. So yeah, this is not a talent issue. They're good enough to compete. Are they good enough to be a Sweet 16 team? Probably not. But they're not bad basketball players, but they play bad on the road. Yeah. And that's a psychological thing. It's a mental thing. And I know like playing on the road is mentally tough. I get that again, but it's not this hard. It's not 40 points hard.
Yeah, that's
frustrating.
It doesn't matter who you're playing, and this isn't the number one team in the country. I mean, but they sure made them look like it. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's frustrating because we get our hopes up. It's like that's the plight of us Husker fans. Like, get after that UCLA win, get your hopes up, and then you could justify an Iowa loss. It stung in the way it happened that we gave up that lead, but you could kind of say, well, at least it was on the road, overtime, blah blah blah, and then Purdue, you kind of you find a way to manufacture some hope, and then that happens. So, but people will find about me is I'm annoyingly optimistic sometimes. So I'm already looking at the schedule, thinking, all right, win 3 out of your next 4.
Well, let's talk about that. So I don't have this in order, but I wrote last week, actually right before the Purdue game, about 4 different categories of games they have left. I have can't lose. So these are usually games against weaker teams that are not on the bubble. It'd be a bad loss. Must win. Let me see here. You just protecting your home court, usually against teams kind of at your level or a little above. Nice to win, which are typically away games against evenly matched opponents. And then resume booster, statement wins. So I'm going to go through these 4 categories, and I want to know what you think.
Yeah.
So first, can't lose. Here's the games Nebraska can't lose. At home against Rutgers on Thursday. Friday. When is that game?
It's Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
I think I had the wrong date. At home against USC. Away at Washington. You're going to that game.
I'll be there.
Home against Minnesota. So those are my 4 can't lose. And that's mostly because they're all 90th or lower in the net. You just can't lose those games. Must win. Iowa at home, Ohio State at home, Maryland at home, Michigan at home.
Agree.
Thoughts there?
I don't know how's Michigan this year.
I mean, they're top 25. They're better, but
again, look what we do.
Playing them at home.
Yeah, it's not a stretch to expect that. So
here's my nice to win. 3 away games at Northwestern, who's okay. 53 net when I was writing this a few days ago. At Penn State, at Ohio State. I think if you get 1, that's really good. 2, you're probably dancing.
Yeah, I think 2. Yeah, that to me is the category that says we're going dancing or not. Win 2 of those 3.
And then resume booster. Can Nebraska get 1 of these? There's 5 of them. They already lost 1. Purdue. Maryland away. Wisconsin away. Illinois at home. Oregon away. I had some good conversation on Twitter about that Illinois game. And then Illinois goes and loses to USC. So then I thought maybe that game's not as difficult as I anticipated it. But maybe
it's really
Nebraska at home
hard not
pulls
to
it
look
up.
back last year and kind of have that same.
Yep.
We look at last year's games and how they went. Every year can be completely different. I want to say Wisconsin's the most gettable there. We got an inside guy, a season to give us some knowledge there, and it just seems like Fred's got, much like Indiana, he tends to play well against Wisconsin. So,
man, I wish we could play Indiana like every week.
Yeah,
my goodness.
But we don't go to Bloomington.
Nope, we don't. Just like last year. We went just there last year and they didn't come here. So yeah, I'm thinking the rest of the way. So we lost the one, man, if Nebraska could go, what's that? That we got them
16 games,
8. Basically, if they can go 8-8 with the Purdue game included in that, if they could go 8-8, I feel okay.
Yeah.
If they go 9-7, they're a shoe-in.
Yeah.
In my book.
Yeah. It's not over yet, Husker Nation.
Long season left. I mean, it's a long season.
But show up Thursday. Don't Thursday doesn't go well, it's time to panic. We're not calling for firings, but it's time to decide whether or not the season's going to be.
I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska scores 80-90 points against Rutgers, to be honest with you. I think that's just kind of how it goes. You come back home, Rutgers is struggling,
Yeah.
Put 100 on them by halftime and get the backups in the late second half. So, all right, well, let's switch gears here. Let's talk some football. Let's talk college football playoff. I was driving home from work today and I had just texted you and I thought I just feel like, it's the dead of winter. We're done with Christmas. Football season's over. We're in basketball season and we're both huge basketball fans. We're into it, but I need to be angry about something right now. I was like, I just got to generate some anger.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of thinking and brainstorming as I'm driving, what can I be angry about right now? Well, I decided that I want to be angry about the playoff bracket and people commenting about the idea of reseeding the bracket. And I think there's a lot of confusion on what it means to reseed, because I'm assuming you've been hearing this. People are like, oh, they should have reseeded the bracket. It was terrible. We could talk about that and what it actually means. But
hey, for the viewers and honestly for myself a little bit, explain how the seeding goes currently.
Yep. So right now, the seeding goes, 1 through 12. The buys get the top seeds. That was actually my main issue this year, was that a team like Arizona State gets a bye, gets the 4th seed, even though they were really not the 4th best team in the country. And I liked Boise State. They didn't show up against Penn State, but they didn't deserve the 3rd seed just because they won their conference title. For me, when you look at the playoff, that was actually the main issue, was that the wrong teams got buys.
Yeah.
And the higher seed.
And is that to incentivize the conference championship game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, is winning, I love Group of 5, but is winning the my gosh, I'm even blanking on what conference Boise State is in. The Mountain West. Is winning the Mountain West the same as finishing 2nd in the Big Ten or SEC?
No.
So I just think the wrong teams got buys. So then the rest of the teams are seeded however they're selected. So, but the issue comes up when people are like, oh, in the second round, they should have reseeded the teams.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Thinking, well, then Oregon would be playing the worst team, reseed them. So then let's look at this, the second round. The worst team you could say is, well, probably Boise State or Arizona State. But then the problem is, they got the bye.
Right.
So they wouldn't be reseeded. But here's the thing. People talk about, oh, well, the NFL reseeds teams. No, they don't. They don't reseed teams at all. every team gets their seed, but in the second round, they match up the 1 seed and they play the lowest remaining seed. So this week, Kansas City, who's the 1, is going to play Houston, the 4. If the Chargers would have won, if they would have beat Houston, the Chargers being the 5th seed would have played Kansas City. If Pittsburgh would have beat Baltimore as the 6th seed and Denver still lost to the Bills, Denver being the 7, Pittsburgh would have played Kansas City because they were the lowest. So, Andrew, do you want to guess, with the way that the first round shook out, who Oregon would have played in the second round, the quarterfinals, if they would have reseeded like the NFL?
Ohio State.
They would have played Ohio State because Ohio State was the 8th seed. They were the lowest seed. And so when people talk about reseeding, I'm like, I don't think you know what you're talking about. You're talking about changing the number by the team. Yep. The NFL doesn't do that. The NFL puts the best team, quote unquote, the best team against the quote unquote worst team, the lowest seed.
Yeah.
Which I'm all for doing that next year with the playoff. I'm curious if you have other thoughts on how to fix a 12-team playoff. We don't need to talk about 16-team, 8-team. They're sticking with 12 for a while, but I mean, do you have any thoughts on buys, seeding, if there even should be buys? After now watching everything up until the championship, what's been your experience of the first 12-team playoff?
So in a way, I get the conference winners because it's a very objective.
It is
measurement. And what did we hear this whole playoff? You know, all the talk and the
SEC,
the hate on ESPN, all that. It's you know, it's well, so and so didn't deserve it because of this. It's most deserving, not most. You know, not the best, or it's the best team, not the most deserving. Like there's so much. Just depends who you. So I don't know. You get into the seeding. It's like how I just want it a fair, objective way to do this, to seed. My thing that, and I don't know your thoughts on this. This is something that bothers me. You heard a lot about these teams. Like I'm trying to think who specifically. Was it Oregon? People were kind of saying they got screwed. Like it was unfair that they had to play Ohio State.
Yep.
I'm just, as a fan, I would be so happy to get to the playoff, and I would not worry about who I had to play in the playoff. Like, to me, like,
agree.
If you're that good, like if you say you're this good, or the committee says you're this good, like just show up and play. And I don't want to hear about it. Just feels like a little bit of favoritism. Like, well, so and so shouldn't. They had a really good year, and they shouldn't have to play another really good team in the playoff. Like, it's the playoff, they should all be really good. Is kind of my feeling on it. So
100%. Like you look at the bracket. I'm looking at it right now. Here's their other options: Oregon, Texas, Penn State,
right? Like,
or Notre Dame.
Yes, it's not the NCAA tournament. This isn't like you're playing a mid-major 16 seed against the one.
Right?
Like, I get that if a Duke draws a Kansas first round, like, you might have something to gripe about, but
it's just crazy. It's crazy talk. Yeah. Like, you're gonna play. Notre Dame's in the national championship. I mean, I heard somebody. I think what sparked it was I was listening to. I was actually local. It was a local show. I don't know who it was because it was like a guest on the show. This is what sparked the anger, Andrew. He said, I can't believe we have a 7 and an 8 seed playing for the national championship. And he was serious.
Yeah.
He was serious about this. And I'm like, you have Ohio State and Notre Dame playing for a championship for the first time ever. How cool is this? Neither one of them have logos on their helmet. That means they're blue bloods. They're legit, right? This is going to be a great championship game. Do you really think the number before their name matters?
Out of 120 schools, like, this isn't the 7 seed in your conference. Like, this is, you're right. Like, they're all going to be superior to football teams because You would
Yeah.
hope, because they earned that spot in that playoff.
And again, if we go back to, well, did Arizona State, Boise State really deserve the 4 and the 3 seed respectively? No, like, okay, maybe Ohio State moves up 2, Notre Dame moves up 2, and then it's actually like the 5 and the 6 playing. Like, I mean, again, they proved it on the field. Notre Dame had one really bad game this year, but in every other game, they've proven they're one of the best 4 teams. And I would say the most deserving, right? The ones who've won. That's what it means to be the best, by the way. You win the games that you play. That's what it means. Not just star ratings, not, oh, we belong to a great conference. It's no, you win the games.
Yeah.
You're the best, you won the game.
Yep.
You're the most deserving.
And everybody had a hiccup this year. I mean, except with the exception of Oregon, but
I don't think we're ever going to see another season again, Andrew, where people don't have a hiccup.
Yeah.
There's too much competition.
Yep. With NIL, you got things are leveling out. That's why we don't see SEC in this game right now.
Right.
Like talent. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to transfer portal, but how many SEC players have come to Nebraska? How many Nebraska players have gone to the SEC? Like, things are evening out a little bit, which is a good thing.
So who do you like in the game?
Actually,
hold on. Let me ask it this way. Do you believe in Will Howard and Ryan Day?
I don't know why I don't like Will Howard. Really?
I'm sure he's a great kid.
Probably a great
guy.
Kid.
He's like 25 years old. He's a man.
I'm a feelings guy, so I'm like, okay, he's a K-State,
That's probably why.
Yeah. I kind of want to see
Chad May. Do you guys all remember that name?
Yeah.
Chad May.
He was on the he was on
94 team. He was kind of we thought he was a crybaby. Chad, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'm sure you're a great human being, but we thought you were a crybaby.
Yep. So I want to see Ryan Day kind of overcome. He got a lot of unfair criticism after losing to Michigan. So part of me is like, I'm down for his vengeance here.
Yeah.
However, I know we've texted about this. I've come to realize that I kind of like Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Because I really like their coach.
How do you root against Marcus Freeman?
Right. I don't know. I'm gonna watch the game and just enjoy it. I think from both sides. And hey, Big Ten wins. That's a win financially. It's a win for our school.
So if Matt Rule, something happened, God forbid, he's not the coach at Nebraska anymore. You have 4 options. You got Steve Sarkisian. You got James Franklin. You got Ryan Day or Marcus Freeman. You have the pick of the litter. There's no strings attached. There's all things are equal. Who would you take?
Jeez. I'm going to take Freeman.
Me too. I think it's an easy choice.
2, I probably go Sarkisian because he's got the recruiting chops and the the resume. But yeah, Freeman, guys want to play for him.
He does.
It's clear. So yeah, I don't have if I had a pick in this game, I'm riding with I was gonna say Notre Dame. It feels like a special run. They on the eye test, Ohio State looks a little more dangerous offensively. I really like Riley Leonard and that his feet. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Mike on this one, and he picked Notre Dame. I'm looking at the matchup predictor on ESPN right now, and they're giving Ohio State the edge 55 to 45.
Yeah.
But I like Notre Dame because I think they've been more consistent throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Ohio State is just playing incredible now. But I do think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be close. I don't see either team running away with it.
No.
What I love about the playoff is that people were complaining about the blowouts.
Yeah.
But then, man, you got to the Final Four and you had 2 really good games. And we hadn't had good Final Four games before this year.
Right.
There was a couple here and there, but there were a lot of blowouts. So I feel like, it's not that those early round games didn't matter, but we got to the point where we had 2 really good games with 4 really good teams.
They were incredible games. And yeah, you can't sit here and say that neither of these teams are deserving or not deserving. Like, it played out the way it's supposed to play out. And yeah, you can sit here and be a SEC honk and say the best team isn't in this, but make the playoff and win your games.
Yeah.
Alabama, don't lose 3.
Beat Vandy, beat a hapless OU team, and
Oklahoma.
Old Miss beat Kentucky. Kentucky had 1 win in the conference. It was against Old Miss. So, oh my goodness, we won't get into that. Okay,
James,
so yeah,
have you ever hated Notre Dame in your life, and why?
Yeah, so like I have family members, like uncles, cousins who love Notre Dame, and I kind of grew up thinking we were supposed to hate Notre Dame. I was actually talking with my dad. My mom and dad were in town this last week, and so we were at my brother's house. My aunt was there, and they said like we hated Notre Dame. And they didn't really have a good reason. I don't know. I saw a great tweet this week. It was, I thought I hated Notre Dame. I really just hated Brian Kelly.
Yeah. It was like
the funny thing is though, like we're older than that, right? Like we're older than like Notre Dame. Brian Kelly isn't Notre Dame to me. Like Lou Holtz is Notre Dame.
Yep.
But now looking back, it's like when I was a kid, like what did I have against Lou Holtz? I don't have anything against Lou Holtz. Why did I hate them? Probably because they won.
Yeah.
They were like the New York Yankees. I mean, they didn't win that many championships. They didn't win any, I was 4 when they won. You and I were 4 when they won in 88. So it's like, oh, whatever. But yeah, but I do. I actually like Notre Dame. I do. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I will shout it from the rooftops. I like Notre Dame.
I think it stems from, us playing them around that time when we were both pretty powerful. In a weird way, I think I texted you. It was like this Catholic thing. Like if you're not a Catholic, you're on the other side.
You're on the other side. You don't like Notre Dame.
And it wasn't that I personally felt that way, but I think maybe the environment I grew up in might have made one feel that way.
War.
Hey, you think we would love it because of Rudy? I love that movie. So
I love Rudy.
Yeah,
I do. I love Rudy. Yeah, so I'm going to root for Notre Dame.
Yep.
I'll root for Notre Dame to get in a conference. I think it would do them in a lot of good. If everything else in college football is ruined, that'll be interesting to see if that's the last domino that falls. But
it's, I think, inevitable. But
yeah. I'm still going to work on putting together my 68 team Division I field.
There you
go. Notre Dame has to go into a conference/division. But I started that a few weeks ago and kind of gave up because I forgot Notre Dame. Did you know that? I put something on Twitter and somebody's like, "Where's Notre Dame?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." You know why I didn't have Notre Dame? Because I was looking at a conference list so I could make sure I included every team, and Notre Dame wasn't on the dang list. So I left them out. And I was like, I'm going to delete this and go back to the drawing board, start over. So.
Hey, it's 2 northern schools, no SEC. We're just going to sit back and enjoy it.
It's going to be great. All right, I got a couple quick questions for you. They're not related to anything. We'll get to if you guys didn't know this, if you're new to the show or didn't listen to last week, we started a new Substack called Through These Gates. And our friend Mike, who was on the podcast a few weeks back, he put out a way too early depth chart for 2025 for Nebraska football. You can go to throughthesegates.substack.com and listen or read that. And maybe next time we'll get into it. We have all off season to get into that. But I got some questions for you before we end. Just some nostalgia stuff, some Husker memory stuff. It's a great time of year to do that since we're in January. So I want to know your favorite all-time Husker, your favorite memory, your favorite in-person memory, and then maybe the worst you ever felt as a Husker fan.
Is this any sport?
It could be, sure. I mean, I have football in mind, but why don't we do any sport? Yeah, we could do any sport. So favorite Husker athlete, your favorite in-person memory or favorite memory, your favorite in-person memory, and then just the worst feeling you've ever had as a Husker. And maybe not worst, but just like the one that just sticks with you and you wish you could undo.
Yeah. Oh man. Gosh, there's so many. Favorite Husker. There's so many too. I mean, growing up in the, Amon Green, probably up there on my list, watching him.
Yep.
I'm gonna just say of recent memory, I'm going T Magic. Like the height of T Magic craze was a blast. I mean,
that was pretty good.
Watching him run on K-State, on Washington,
and man, did he give us some great sound bites.
He did, yeah. So I know maybe a bit of an odd pick because he had the downsides were there too with the throwing and throwing motion and.
I went back. Hold on, let me quick thought.
Yeah.
So I went back when they hired Holgorsen. I went back and watched the 2010 Nebraska Oklahoma State game because Holgorsen was the offensive coordinator for Gundy that year. In Nebraska, we won that game like 51-41, I think, or 41-31. I can't remember the score, but man, it was a shootout. It was wild, and Martinez had a great game. But yeah, some of those games those years, those were the Bo years, but you just felt like, it was feast or famine. We were either going to score 50 points or we were going to score 10.
Yeah.
With T Magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a good pick.
Every week. Yeah.
All right. I'll just interject as you think of the next one. For me, I think it has to be Tommy Frazier because of the magic. So you talk about T Magic, but for me as a kid, watching Tommy Frazier was magical. It was like he, in my memory, right? It's like he floated. He never ran. He never struggled. He just was.
Yeah.
He floated over the turf, over the grass, as he ran the option. Of course, I don't remember him throwing a whole lot, and he didn't. And he won games. Like you got to that point where, you knew if he's in the game, we're not going to lose the game.
Right.
And I think for me, my first ever football game in person was 1992 Oklahoma State, and Tommy Frazier came in the game. I think you were saying once that might have been your first game too, which is kind of fun. We won 55-0. It was a beautiful sunny, I think October day, maybe September, would have been late September, but and I think like the next week or 2 weeks later, he's starting against Missouri, and he never looked back as a true freshman. So yeah, I remember hearing the PA announcer saying like, now, coming into the game, number 15, Tommy Frazier. And there were a lot of people in the stands who were like, who's this? And, the recruiting around Tommy was big, but we didn't have what we have today with social media and even, magazines and all that kind of stuff. And so unless people were really dialed into that, they were just like, okay, it's our freshman quarterback. We know he's from Florida, but like, let's see what this guy's all about. And man, so yeah, Tommy for me, for sure.
All right. Iconic for sure. So what's the next one? Best
memory.
Best,
and it could be this one just in general. It doesn't have to be in person.
Well, I have an in-person one. Storming the court, Husker basketball at the Devaney.
Which game?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, they were number 4. They had
we were students.
Yeah, we were students. They were number 4.
I don't think I was at that game.
Yeah, Rylan Reed and I down on the baseline. That's where
Man,
we were. We were like camped out for the game. Night before, freezing cold. Barry Collier bringing us pizza. No, it may not even been Collier. Now I can't even remember.
What year was this? I went to almost all the games. I must not have been at that one.
It was 05, I think. 06. They had the legendary coach, the OSU coach.
Eddie Sutton.
Yeah, and then they had one of the Lucas's.
Okay. Well, Doc was in 2006. We had Doc.
Okay.
At that point, I don't know. I'll have to look at we went 17-14, 6-10 in conference.
It was it was the it was the first court storming.
We did beat them in March. Was it in March? Yeah, we beat them at the Bob, but I don't know if they were ranked. No, it doesn't say they were ranked. It must have been a different year.
Yeah, they were number 4. I remember the headlines, 4 no more. So
that's funny. Okay, so that's good. So that's is that your in-person? That's your in-person?
Yes.
Okay. I would say for me, the most memorable in-person Husker sports memory I have would be at their second College World Series appearance. It was honestly, like, it was at Rosenblatt, and the scene was just incredible because the whole stadium, the 25,000 people that fit into Rosenblatt, they were all Nebraska fans. I can't remember. I think we were playing Clemson that day. I can't remember if it was Clemson or who it was, but
there was Arizona State in there one of those years.
Yeah, this is. I'm pretty sure we played Clemson. I'll have to look back. So in the pregame, they did the Star Spangled Banner, and then a stealth bomber did the flyover. So cool. And it was so low and so quiet because it's a stealth bomber, and you didn't see it until it got up on you. So it's just burned in my memory of how cool it was to see that fly over the stadium. And then they did the Husker Power chant before the game. Hearing that in a baseball stadium that I grew up going to almost weekly during the summer with my grandpa, was so cool, so meaningful. I wish we would have won the game. We didn't, but that is one of my favorite, probably most treasured in-person memories, being at that game, and just witnessing that moment. It wasn't the first year they were in the series. That would have been pretty special, but just being there and hearing Husker Power, and it's like, it's a baseball team that's going to run on the field, not a football team. So that's mine.
That's a good one. That is. I went to one of them. I can't remember now, first or the second one. I just remember sun kind of setting. I remember the Children of the Corn flag or sheets that the fans had out there. I remember heckling the outfielders. But yeah, it is an iconic setting. R.I.P. Rosenblatt. I have another one, and I'm going to add this as this is going to be my worst. It's like a best and worst. So we played Texas, Terrence Nunn days.
I was at the game.
That was 04. I was in line I think we were in line at 4:30 a.m. to try to get like the best spot in the student section there. So one, like, exhausted. It was near Halloween times. I remember people had like we were carving pumpkins.
Well, this was 03 because, sorry, it was 02. It was the fall of 02.
Nope, this one would have been.
I'm sorry. I'm no. 06.
Yes.
Did you say 06?
I thought it was 05, but
yeah, I think it was. I think we played him at home and it snowed that day.
Yes, so that's.
I was there. I skipped work to go to this game.
I think that's the loudest I've ever heard the stadium. One, just being there so early before sunup, freezing cold, the emotions of that game, and then obviously the way it ended. So it was like, I remember.
Well, for the youngins who are listening, tell them how it ended.
So yeah, the snow hit like late in the game, like
it was like a movie.
Early fourth quarter. And that place, I mean, I think they attempted a blackout. You know, it was like students show up wearing black, but there was a good amount of black. The wind picked up, the clouds got real dark, and snow just came blasting in our faces, just as kind of the shift, the momentum shifting in the game towards us. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but we needed a first down. We throw it to Terrence Nunn, who was a good receiver for Nebraska. I think he got probably a lot more hype than deserved, but caught it for the first down. That would have iced it.
He caught it.
He fumbles it. So he caught it, fumbles it. Just like we're used to in the last 10 years here. Texas gets the ball and field goal to win. So
it was October 21st, 2006. They were number 5.
Right.
Texas. We were ranked 17th, and we lost 22-20. And we were up 20-19.
Yeah.
Basically like every Iowa game this century. Yeah. Frustrating.
So, great memory in terms of the snow and the loudness, and you know, being a student there, you're like, this is why I came here. Like, this is big time college football. But then to end in that heartbreak.
Agree. All right, I'll go heartbreak. You know, I want to say like there's heartbreak in other sports, but the expectations in other sports have never been so high, right? So I'm going to go way back with my heartbreak, and I'm going to go to the 1994 Orange Bowl, so the 93 season.
Yep.
Florida State. And I remember, you know, I had just turned 9. Yeah, right? 9. Just turned 9 at the end of the year. And that was really the first kind of full year I was into Husker football. I was into Husker football in 92. I remember really started to pay attention as an 8-year-old, which is funny. You know, boys.
Plugging your mic.
You're good. My boy's 9. I might have to go plug my computer in as well. And I started to pay more attention. And then I watched that Orange Bowl with my dad, and just seeing my dad, you know, just so tense. I was like, okay, this is serious. You know, Nebraska football is serious. And I'm going to kick that field goal, knowing all you have to do is put that ball through the uprights, and we are the champions. And then it didn't go through, and you're crushed. I'm going to add one more because I think I'm going to add one more. The Big 12 championship game against Texas.
Yeah.
In 1996. So just a few years later, I'm like, you know, 12 or whatever. And I like, y'all are going to make fun of me, but you probably did it too. Like, I cried. I remember as a 12-year-old crying when James Brown rolled out and hit that guy on a long pass on 4th and inches. And I was crushed because we had just went, you know, we lost to Arizona State earlier that year, but the previous 2 years we didn't lose. And so losing was just so foreign.
Yep.
And it felt strange to lose. So that would be those two would be probably my worst.
To get back to that, we were spoiled. Losing.
I would take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you mention kind of your best overall memory?
Best overall memory.
I mean, it's got to be one of the national championships, right? Or K-Say winning that 3-point contest. I'm just kidding.
No, I think the season didn't end up, but I think Oklahoma, Nebraska, the stunts, you know,
to Crouch.
Stunts to Crouch.
Were you at that game?
No, I was in Ryland's basement watching with his family.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, a national championship game. I remember we did family Husker football parties, and you know, the thing I probably remember the most is either Frazier's run or Schlesinger rumbling the end zone. So
Yeah, I'd have to say too, for me, the Miami, Nebraska Orange Bowl in 95 Orange Bowl. Again, it goes back to like I remember my dad like tearing up. First time I ever saw him like tear up. And knowing like how much it meant to him that we won that game. Because we didn't win in the Orange Bowl. It's just, we hadn't won in a long time. And he was just, my dad was like beside himself. Like, I can't believe we're going to do it. I remember he's standing up. He's not sitting like the whole fourth quarter. And he's like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And now I'm like, I'm that guy. I'm the guy pacing in my living room, and my kids are like, what are you doing, Dad? And I'm like, man, this is serious stuff. So yeah, Orange Bowl for me. For sure.
I got a wild card just came to mind. So with that, I grew up in a small Holdridge, central Nebraska. I don't know why, for some reason, like this was probably 96, 97, somewhere around there. Our town, like our fire department, somebody coordinated this where the 94, 95 team came to my high school gym and played our firefighters in a basketball game.
That's awesome.
I don't remember any context to that, but remember just seeing some of the biggest names that, these are major celebrities to a 12-year-old kid.
That's awesome. Do you remember who won?
Basketball players or football players won. Yeah.
We'll call it a wrap there. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you next time.